All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Lake Country Clean Waters quarterly meeting, the last one of the year. It's been a really great year for us and for lake advocacy. So we're really excited to be able to present today and kind of talk about some accomplishments that we've had this year, go into next year, and then have Paul Gordetto and Mary Van de Kamp Knoll talk on Ashoapin Lake. So that's kind of the plan for today. And we can see that right here. We're gonna have some fun. We've had a lot of feedback, and we always like to ask for feedback after after our meetings and after our Healthy Lakes conference. And so we're gonna do some more check-in question fun stuff where we exist as an organization to get the different lakes in Lake Country to be talking to each other, to be networking with each other, and finding out about what's going on in each other's lakes. So we'll do kind of a fun check-in question there. We'll go over a few Lake Country Clean Waters updates, and then just one joint presentation tonight instead of the usual two. We're going to have Paul Gordetto and Mary Van de Kamp Knoll talk about a few different things that they've been working on for over a year on Ashoapin Lake. I would say years on Ashoapin Lake. As always, I like to thank the board members. They're all volunteers, and they really help make things happen. So I just always like to thank them. Joyce, Susan, Caroline, Don, Denise, Alan, Tom, and Jerry. You guys are awesome, and just want to thank you all always for keeping the organization afloat and keeping it going and advocating for Lake Country Clean Waters. Okay, so we're going to start with a check-in question. This is something we like to do. I will highly suggest, if you're not doing other things, to come off camera once you get into your breakout room. You don't need to come off camera now, but when you get into your breakout room, come off camera. You'll be randomly placed in a room of 3 to 5 people. And so what we're going to want to do is we're going to give you guys quite a long amount of time. We're going to give you 15 minutes to get to know each other. You can give your name, what organization you're with, whether it's a lake association, a lake district, maybe you're with the DNR, or maybe you're like Ingleson and you're with Wisconsin Lakes. So you can talk about what organization you're with. You can talk about what information, this is kind of the question. So what do you wish more people knew about your lake or your organization? And if you run out of things to talk about, you can talk about if you'd rather be on Survivor or The Amazing Race, because it's Wednesday night in America, and those are the shows that everybody watches. So you can start with maybe if you'd rather be on Survivor, The Amazing Race, or what you wish people knew more about your lake or your organization. So that being said, I hope everyone understands the rules. I'm gonna break you guys out into breakout rooms. You'll have either 3 or 4 people in your breakout room. It's totally random. So something might pop up on your screen that says, join breakout room, and just go ahead and join it. So I'll see everybody in about 15 minutes. I hope you guys have fun. All right. Got about a minute left here. All right. Hello, everybody, as you make your way back. Hopefully that was ample time to discuss some fun things. Kind of waiting for people to head back in here. You know, it's a good sign when people are trickling in this slowly. They're still talking in their room. Okay, now we should see everybody come back. There we go.
Being recorded.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. So, I have a couple questions for you all after your fun discussions. One, if you want to, feel free to type in the chat what lake, river, or other organization you represent, or come off mute and tell us. I'm just kind of curious to see where people are from. I heard one person say Big Cedar already.
Moose Lake.
Moose Lake, nice.
Ashippun.
Ashippun.
I'm
Pine
on
Lake.
Lake Emily.
Lake Emily up in Portage County.
Cedar Lake,
Awesome.
Okachi Lake.
or I should say Big Cedar Lake.
Lake.
Big Elkhart Lake.
Elkhart, I love it. Wow.
And Big Cedar Lake again.
All
Oh.
right, we got Big
Yep.
C. Pike freezing.
Lower Namabin,
Lower Namabin. Is that James?
yes.
Hey, Jim.
Right.
All right, we got some people in Vilas County. Hi, Carol.
Lake to Nephew, Fond du Lac County.
All right. That's great. It's good to hear. We have a wide dispersal. That's really, really nice.
I should
So-
point out that I had indicated Lake Emily. There are actually two Lake Emilys in the state. The Emily I'm referring to is in Florence County.
Lawrence County, and I assumed it was Portage County. That was the pointer in me that assumed that it was Portage County.
Yes.
That's great. Well, thanks for sharing, everybody. One more question while we're still kind of off mute. Was there anything interesting in your conversations? Anything that you thought it was cool that people wanted to know more about your lake? Maybe you had something in common. Maybe somebody said something in your conversation that you thought was really interesting and you were like, wow, I never thought of that before. What stood out to you guys?
How many different lakes have problems with wake boats?
Okay.
That is becoming a problem.
I agree.
Has been a problem a long time.
We found out where the fishing is good, but we're not gonna tell.
I'll call you after this, Don.
One of our POA guys knows where the fishing was good.
That's good. Anything else besides fishing secret spots and wake boats?
We're Cedar Lake is working, is just starting a initiative to try to revegetate the shoreline around the lake, and we're going to try to motivate certain landowners or property owners to get some nice plants and trees closer to thicken it up around the shoreline to work to try to minimize or eliminate the runoff.
Wow, that's great. That's a really good effort. Cool, Chad. I'm excited to possibly hear more about that later. It's really nice.
I'm Caroline
That'll help with
Joyce.
geese too, if you've got a Canada goose problem.
Do you want some? We put up clothesline about 6 inches off the ground along the shoreline.
And it does it, huh? That's
I'm
good.
Caroline Joyce, and I was just out at Big Cedar Lake with Dave Baldus, and heard about some of the things that are going on in your lake, and I had recommended that some of you from Big Cedar Lake come and attend this meeting tonight so you could see how other lakes are handling what they're doing and what they see as ways to improve their lake and things like that. And so I just want to tell you how happy that Big Cedar Lake people showed up tonight. So that's great. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thanks, Caroline. And I should probably give a really short and sweet background about my position. I've actually spent countless hours at Big Cedar Lake at the boat launch. I was the aquatic invasive species coordinator for Washington County and Waukesha County for about 6 years. I ended that position about 3 years ago, or maybe, gosh, 4 years ago now. And I don't work in that field anymore, but I was the aquatic invasive species coordinator. So I actually wrote the intergovernmental agreement along with Waukesha County and Washington County to spread that position between both the counties, and worked closely with a lot of people in the DNR, did all kinds of lake surveys on lakes all around Washington, Waukesha County, and then started the really robust version of the Clean Boats, Clean Waters program there. So man, Big Cedar, I've spent so many times with, what's the police guy's name there? Dan, and spent a bunch of times on the Boston Whalers and going around Big Cedar searching for invasive species. I remember I even cut holes in the ice in the middle of winter to put a camera under the ice to look for invasive plants. So it's that's kind of where I come from, and so that's where I come from. So I really appreciate the input, everyone. That's really cool. Like I said earlier, our organization exists to bring lakes and rivers and people who care about the water in their community together. And without everyone being able to meet each other and network, we wouldn't exist, and there would be no point. And I think it's really important because lakes can be so siloed and so kind of in their own, you have your lake district or your lake association, and you kind of you have the people that you talk to every day. You don't necessarily communicate with people who are going through the same issues as you in your community, whether it's wake boats or Eurasian water milfoil or whatever you're doing in your community. So it's really good that you guys are talking to each other and sharing. So thank you very much. All right. Let's go through some accomplishments from this year. We had a really fun year. We had 3 quarterly meetings. So this is our 3rd quarterly meeting. And the things that we've had people talk on, we had Amy Kretlow and Patrick Sawula come in and talk about the Wisconsin AIS program. We had Paul Skowinski talk about the Citizen Lakes Monitoring Program and how you can be a lake advocate on your lake doing Citizen Lakes Monitoring. We had Tim Tyre and Jerry Hine come in and talk about their North Lake Management Study. And then our last one, we had Tom Kep talk about leading the way on Pewaukee Lake and all the projects that Tom is doing on Pewaukee Lake. And if anyone didn't make the Healthy Lakes Conference in this year, earlier this summer, Tom and Pewaukee Lake Sanitary District actually won our Lakes Award. So then we had our Healthy Lakes Conference. We took over the Clean Water Festival out on Pewaukee Lake Beach this year, and we ran that. And we've had some really good donations this year, enough to keep us afloat at least for the time being, which is always, kind of how we run. But we do all this through partnerships with Tall Pines Conservancy, the Oconomowoc Watershed Protection Program, Wisconsin Lakes, the DNR, Gallagher Country Real Estate, and then our individual and then lake organization donations. And really, the big part of that is the individual and lake organization donations. When they come in, they literally run these programs. They run the quarterly meetings, and they help run the Healthy Lakes Conference as well as the Clean Water Festival. So we have one part-time employee, and our board of directors is all volunteers. So that's what happened in 2022. I want to share what we have planned tentatively for 2023. We're really excited about our 2023 plan. A lot of the feedback we had from the Healthy Lakes Conference was, hey, this is all great information, but how do we take action? We talked a lot about what's wrong with the lakes. What can we do to be better and actually take action on the lakes? And so our next quarterly meeting is going to be in January on the 18th, and that's going to be focused on taking action on projects. So what can you do to help? Our second quarterly meeting is going to be a plant identification workshop. So that one will be in person, and that will be literally Michelle Nault from the DNR will come in and have all the different plants for you to look at. It's going to be in April. So right when everything's getting warm, it's going to be springtime. We can look through and have a plant ID workshop. The Lake Country Clean Waters Festival is going to be the 24th of June. And then the Healthy Lakes Conference is going to be the 28th of July. Actually, and this is a tentative date. The 28th of July is tentative. And then our fourth quarterly meeting is going to be September 20th, and that's going to focus on winter lake ecology. So we're going to have some people from the DNR come in and talk about winter lake ice. And as always, I want to thank our 2022 sponsors. These are all lake districts and lake organizations, lake associations that have helped fund us and keep us going. River associations, lake associations. So we really want to just thank all of the people who have helped keep us going. And the big one is Gallagher Lake Country Real Estate has really helped us out this year as well. In fact, they are super excited to help us. They helped reformat our website. So if you go to our website, lakecountrycleanwaters.org, you'll see that it's all reformatted. It's super organized. And then the next project that we're working on is creating a 10 to 12 page coffee table booklet. What we want is how to be a lake ambassador. So it's going to cover a variety of topics, including regulations, enforcement, citizen science, how to identify invasive species, things like that. All right. And you're able, as an individual or a lake organization, to sponsor a quarterly meeting or next year's Healthy Lakes Conference. So as I said earlier, we run entirely off of donations. And so as we kind of approach the end of the year, I know that's crazy to say, it's already October, but as we approach the end of the year, consider your holiday donation. Maybe you give every year to an organization that you love, an organization that you think is doing good things in the community. Consider us, Lake Country Clean Waters, for your end of the year donation. If you go to lakecountrycleanwaters.org, you can donate there. And there are different levels of sponsorship and donation levels. So, as you go through, this is all listed on our website as well. But as you go through and consider your donation, whether you're a lake organization, maybe you're a lake district and you want to donate at a watershed level, or maybe you're an individual and you want to donate at the puddle level, it's all good. Whatever you want to donate, we are happy to take. So thank you in advance for that. And some of the things that come out of that are fun, right? We have our Lake and River Organization Annual Recognition Award. Every year, somebody gets the traveling paddle. So this paddle travels from lake organization or river organization to whoever wins it each year. Your name is engraved in the paddle, and then you can see as it travels which organization it goes to, and then you also get a plaque. And so last year it went to Pewaukee Lake Sanitary District. Your organization could be the organization in 2023. You can apply at lakecountrycleanwaters.org. And it's just a short application, fill out why you think you deserve the award, or maybe you can nominate a different lake organization or river organization who you think deserves the award. And we'll take those into consideration. And then at the next Healthy Lakes Conference next summer, we'll announce who gets that award. And so next year's topics, we kind of went through this, but yeah, taking action, plant ID, Healthy Lakes Conference, and then Winter Lake Ice Ecology. And with that, I'll get into the presenters today, and I'll introduce you guys really quick. So I'm introducing Paul Gardetto and Mary Vanderkamp Knoll. They're both from the Ashippun Lake Management District. Paul is a physiologist with a master's in biology from Marquette and a bachelor's in biology from Ripon College. He's a retired Air Force aviation physiologist and continues to teach science of all types to a variety of audiences. He is also a commissioner of the Ashippun Lake District. And Mary is the past president of the Ashippun Lake District. As president, she saw the need to address potential concerns and acted on them, showing leadership and setting an example to create informed, objective data. She has a background as a journalist and is a master of communication. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen. And Paul or Mary,
All right.
if you want to share.
The plan is that I will start it and Paul will jump in.
Brad, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So you gotta enable that for us.
Let me fix that really quick. Paul, are you planning to share first, or is Mary?
Yeah, no, it's one. Me, I've got Mary's stuff.
Oh, okay, good.
And then I'll PDF these and send them to you so you can upload them. Have them.
Perfect, thank you. Can you share now?
There we go.
Perfect.
Let me find it. Here we go. All right, Mary, if you can see it, everyone else can too. Just
I can. So I'll start. Ashippun Lake is a 94-acre lake according to the DNR website, but in actuality, it is an 84-acre lake with a 10-acre pond, lily pond, that's barely navigable by kayak or paddle board. Its drainage feeds 275 acres of unique wetlands. The Lake District and the lake residents have a history of actively working to protect the lake. In the late 1990s, the developer Mooney and Lesage proposed a 140-unit condo development for the north shore of Ashippun Lake, including as many boat slips. The Ashippun Lake Protection and Rehabilitation District hired an attorney to fight the development. As that continued, in 1998, the DNR designated Ashippun Lake's then undeveloped north, south, and western shores as environmentally sensitive shoreline, noting the sand and gravel shoreline supported lots of concave circles that were fish breeding sites. The Mooney-Lesage plan was dropped, and instead, John Spears developed the North Shore as 8 lots of at least 200 feet in width to minimize the environmental impact. This also removed the cows that had previously regularly walked into the lake applying their own fertilizer. So the phosphorus levels in the lake began to improve. In 2010, the DNR announced plans to remove the Monterey Mill Pond Dam, which is a little over a mile from the lake. Fearing that removing the dam would decrease the hydrogeologic pressure and drop the lake level, the Ashippun Lake District hired geologist Bob Nauta, who had previously mapped all of the groundwater for the state of Wisconsin. Nauta confirmed that the dam removal could drop the lake level almost 2 feet, which could result in the lake going from a healthy mesotrophic lake to a eutrophic lake. SewerPAC had done a comprehensive management plan of Ashippun Lake in 2007, and we asked SewerPAC to weigh in. In another comprehensive study in 2011, SewerPac confirmed NAUDA's findings, and the town and the DNR stopped planning for the dam removal. With the help of then Governor Walker's Department of Administration, we were able to get the Department of Transportation to cover the cost of site preparation for both a new dam and an adjoining bridge. The Lake District paid $50,000 towards that project, which ended up coming in under budget. Later, the Lake District was able to persuade the DNR to decrease the number of public boat slips from 12 to 8 plus one handicap site, closer to keeping with the DNR guidelines used for other lakes. By 2021, it was 10 years since we'd looked at the health of the lake. The old fish nests on the North Shore were buried in redeposited sediment, as was the char, an aquatic plant that helps clean and filter the lake water. Residents on the North Shore began reporting water turbidity and a foul smell when wake boat activity was high. We'd heard about Terra Vigilus's research on North Lake and hired them to look into the health of Ashippun Lake. Although their early morning tests showed excellent water clarity and healthy phosphate levels, calling Ashippun Lake a pristine spring-fed lake, they came up with dramatic videos of the plume from a visiting wake boat and underwater videos of the wave action redepositing sediment from below the thermocline. Another reason this was a concern is because arsenic had been used to kill weeds on Ashippun Lake from the 1940s through the 1980s. It had settled at the bottom of the lake below the thermocline where it caused no harm. But arsenic's potency does not break down over time, according to Consumer Reports scientists, and the plume might be pulling up the arsenic. It was about this time that we learned about the town of Rhine in Sheboygan County and how it had passed an ordinance to outlaw artificial wake generation on a 125-acre Crystal Lake, even though 8 to 9 lake residents owned wake boats. The Ashippun Lake District began considering asking the town of Oconomowoc to create a similar ordinance. Paul?
All right. Well, thanks, Mary. So Mary, that's kind of how we got started down this track. So I'll take it from there and tell you what we've learned in the last year and a half or so. And to frame the discussion, as we began this, we wanted to make sure we were discussing, much like Crystal Lake did in Sheboygan County, the equipment on the wake enhancing equipment on the boat without regard to the activity that was going on behind the boat. So not try and ostracize the sport, but just look at the boat itself. What we've learned since is you have to understand the sport, and we have. And I encourage you to learn more about this the sport to really understand this. So wakeboarding, wake surfing, there's pictures there. I'm not going to go through both of them, but they are different, okay? And the equipment that supports them are different. So we don't have time to go into this, but I'll invite you to learn more, take advantage of Corbin Blanton, who's on here, to think about questions you may have in this regard. These are boats that are made to, the boat itself is made to enhance the wake. And Nautique is the one that's on our I think it's Nautique on our lake. And anyways, these boats have the hydrogate and different planes designed to get them quickly into the position they need to be. It's not really on plane, but it's on their plane, to try and maybe minimize that downwash plume to an extent. The manufacturer advertises the hull is specifically molded to displace monumental amounts of water. That's what they do. The thing we've learned is that aftermarket wake enhancing add-ons actually don't give you the ability to steer the wave, much like these wake boats do. And so, create a different challenge if you're looking at mitigating that wake, steering the wave, for example. And you can get an aftermarket wake enhancing for a couple $100 to any speedboat. So the concern, two concerns we've had, and I'm sure you do as well. It's the wake created by this equipment and displacing large amounts of water, and the potential impact to the environment is as shown: shoreline erosion, scrubbing the bottom, and then safety to kayakers and things like that. That's what you see is the wave. What we don't see is the downwash plume. You can see the graphic up on the top right. It's a bow high, boat, and there's a plume of a jet stream, if you will, of water going down from that. Large horsepower boats, high pitch prop, creating this downwash plume. We're still learning. Plenty left to learn on this particular thing. Potential impact, penetration of the thermocline, getting that anaerobic activity up into the aerobic cycle, resuspension of sediments, and the potential for phosphate plumes. University of Minnesota, which we're going to talk a little bit about later, hasn't yet, they concentrated on the wake, but they're now aggregating data that will help better define the plume part of it for us. We're hoping to see that in 23. We have the neighbor, and he's on the call with us today, Corbin Blanton. Congratulations. He is the U.S. National Wakeboard Champion, and he's a resident on Ashippun Lake. I said it backwards there. And to brag about Corbin, I didn't know you were going to be here, Corbin, so I would have put this whether you were or not. Corbin is a respectful boater. He wants to do what's right, and he uses the lake to refine his routines. If not for Corbin, we probably would have, very well, restricted wakeboarding. But the residents in the town searching for a compromise to allow Corbin to continue while at the same time protecting our lake. It makes our lake a unique, experiment, if you will, because it is a spring-fed lake, a small lake with a guy that really understands the sport. Look forward to working with anyone interested in learning more about this kind of stuff. So I put this on here, separating the emotion from the science, because this is what you'll hear. Maybe this is what you say yourself. Nature creates large waves and shoreline erosion. Why should power boats be restricted beyond what's occurring in a big storm? And the problem with using nature to establish thresholds for environmental impact is, storms knock down trees and lightning causes fire. And we certainly wouldn't establish EPA thresholds for emissions based on what's coming out of a volcano, right? So you can't use nature. Another thing you'll hear is restrictions are impossible to enforce, and they are difficult to enforce, no doubt about it, but so are many laws. Our water chemistry is really good. It's a beautiful lake. So the static water chemistry remains good and healthy. What we don't understand is the dynamic water chemistries that's changes that may occur. Well, they do occur. We just don't know to what extent or impact with powerboat operations of all kinds. Terra Vigilis did some of this. They presented it earlier this year, and it's now at University of Minnesota to aggregate with the rest of their data. One challenge we have because of the size of our lake, 85 acres, is that in terms of the weight, whatever that level of energy is that's coming off of the wake boat, it's hitting in an hour, it's hitting the same shoreline 60 times, so it's not just the, the amplitude, but the frequency of these impacts that we're concerned about and trying to mitigate. All the studies that we review, and even the industry itself, recommends minimizing repetitive passes across the same shoreline, and we just can't do that. It's a little lake. So now looking at studies I want to share with you. One is from the National Marine Manufacturers Association that came out in April. And it's a computational study. So basically it's a big computer simulator program. Didn't measure any real data. It just used assumptions, and I shared some of those assumptions with you. So, but that computational study concluded that a wake surf wake dissipates in 200 feet. It's a really, complex mathematical study, a lot of calculus in there. But if you read through it and look for the assumptions, you'll see that they cite surface friction, bottom of the lake bottom, as the primary dissipator of the computational wake. Well, that's actually one of the challenges we have with this is we don't want to stir up the bottom of the lake, but that's what the computer used. Also, the boat they model is 145 horsepower rather than 500 plus typical in use. Jeff from Minnesota Lakes and Rivers, when he presented this, said it's kind of like the tobacco industry when they said smoking is fine, but it's out there and it's been used by other states to pass legislation, mostly down south, to kind of maybe get ahead of the science a little bit, but whatever their agenda is, they've passed some legislation restricting wake boats to 200 feet offshore. University of Minnesota study published in February. If you haven't looked at this, this is the one you should be looking at and using. It's the peer-reviewed comprehensive study, and the one that should be trusted. It looked at 4 different kinds of wake boats. One of them was the speedboat with wake enhanced equipment on it, and established that on their lake, 600 feet mitigated the wake energy to a level equivalent to a speedboat at 200 feet off of shore. Wake size dissipated at 500. I share that with you because you'll see that pop up again. Of note, here's Lake Independence, where the University of Minnesota study took place. And on the right is little Ashippun Lake, half as deep and 1/10 the size. So Mary introduced to you a review of the ordinances, and we as a district did this. Bass Lake decided to prohibit wake size and establish 700 feet from shore as their ordinance. And twice as big as us. Crystal Lake in Sheboygan County, Mary introduced this to you. They have a ordinance that prohibits all wake enhanced equipment. Wake enhanced equipment is bladders and Corbin could speak to it. All the different equipment that's designed to create a large wake. Okay, Crystal Lake, twice as deep as us and a little bit bigger than us. Oh, what did we do? The Lake District in November, commissioners passed a motion to recommend the Crystal Lake ordinance prohibiting all wake enhanced boats to the town of Oconomowoc. In February, the town met and the supervisors asked we table this for legal review. And then in May, tabled it again. Oh, I'm sorry, legal review, and also asked us to look for an opportunity for compromise. In May, the district commissioners tabled this for further consideration at the annual meeting. This was going to impact our neighbor, and thought best that all residents ought to have an opportunity to be considered before we pass an ordinance. At the same time, we established a summer trial with a subcommittee to develop voluntary guidelines. One of the other things you'll be thinking about as you do this is questions you'll be asked is, why do we need to pass an ordinance? Why can't we establish some guidelines, post some signs, train people on what the expectations are, and try and do it that way before, involving the police, right? So that's what we did. And we established a committee. Jeff Lamb, our chairman, is on there. I'm on there. Corbin Blanton, the U.S. wakeboard champion, is on there, and also Dee. So we established guidelines with a posted sign, and Andrea and Corbin Blanton pretty much built that sign. I'll share it with you. The motion also monitored public traffic density. What kind of boats are using public boats are using it? It's 85-acre lake, but still got a public boat launch. So, and then is the public compliant with those guidelines? Will education and guidelines work, or do we need an ordinance? And then a little bit of ad hoc monitoring. What can we learn in the interim? So we established a 500-foot shoreline standoff distance for our trial. And here's on the left there is 500 feet from structures and the shoreline. It's kind of, wonky, but it is what it is. And then on the right is a sign. And we already know we're probably going to need a bigger one if this is the way we're going to go with this. And here's what the sign said. So this is right off of our website. You can go on the Aspen Lake website and steal all the stuff that's posted there if you want. Plagiarism is highly encouraged, right? I'll let you read this, but and I'll be giving these slides to Brad so he can post them because we're going through pretty quick. But I mean, it's pretty clear, right? And the folks that do this sport had a part in formulating the language here. It says it in lieu of a ban. This is what we want you to do, and then let's see if people do it. It asks people to be respectful. It tells them, there's a little more language at the bottom about the sensitive shoreline and such that Mary talked about. Oh, here's the observation. So one of the goals was to take a look at wake boat density. And I think everybody knows that, power boating in general this year is way down. Gas prices or post-COVID, who knows? But it's way, way down. Then we had our Clean Boats, Clean Water intern that works on weekends, documented 9 launches of wake boats. The intern talked to them and gave them the guidelines. This was only on weekends, so weekdays we didn't get them. And based on that person talking to them, a couple people decided maybe I'll pick another lake. So we are blessed with a beautiful lake. I mean, it's a spring-fed, just gorgeous lake. That's Cara there. The good macroalgae that Mary talked about, the fish and fowl food. It's really, really nice. And this is one of the, this is the North Shore, one of 3 sensitive shorelines, and maybe you can look at it and see why the DNR may have established that. Anecdotally, water clarity improved substantially. Not measured, but it's a lot clearer, and it doesn't smell. That anaerobic, activity that was rising to the surface with the turbidity was really noticeable last year, and it was absent this year. Fish nestings improved, sediment deposition on Cara is reduced. So what we know is whether it's from 500 feet or reduced density of wake boats, removing the impact improved the anecdotally substantially improved the lake. So compliance, one of the other things we measured. So this is a public boat. Just not following, not only the sign, they're just, they're not staying within 100 feet of the shore. That's about 8 feet deep right there. And they're going to go in with their wake boat into about 5 feet deep. You see there's 2 wake boats out there, kind of crisscrossing themselves. Within 50 feet of fishermen that are, it's a fishing lake, small fishing lake. So that's one of our challenges, is how do we whatever we do decide to do, how do we get compliance? So I'll let that go a little bit farther. It's more of the same. That's me in a helicopter there taking this video, right? I just want you to see it go right past a fisherman. So it's not just the environment. It's just safe power boating operation. Smart wake boat operations in general. Just so happens it's a wake boat, so the impact's greater. But doing this with a jet ski wouldn't be smart either, right? Okay, so I think you get the picture. That's what happens if you leave your pier. Don't do that. It doesn't work. So anyhow, this is what a wakeboard wake looks like, and there it is. Okay, so the summary of our trial, our observations. Ashippun Lake bottom has a steep shelf and it's much shallower depth than the University of Minnesota. So the University of Minnesota study that said 600 feet mitigates the wake to the same distance as a speedboat at 200 feet. That was in 68 feet of water with a gradual sloping bottom. Ours is not that way. It goes from 38 feet deep in the middle to about 15 feet, hitting that shelf, creating a little bit of tsunami effect. And that's what you saw in that one video there. We did take some anecdotal wave heights. I didn't share them with you. They're pretty consistent of what you would think. We're going to study it some more. We'd like anyone that's interested to participate in this. It's nice. Our lake is nice for this because we have one farmer on the lake. The farmer is very environmentally conscious, and so we don't have to worry about runoff. We have to think about it, but we don't have to worry about it. So it is a good study platform for this kind of thing. Questions remaining for us are wave height at full power. Corbin was having a little problem with his boats this past summer, and full ballast. And then, as we said, that downwash plume and what impact that could have, which is going to be very dependent on depth. So as you guys look at
Paul, this is Mary. I just wanted to say that Terra Vigilis, when they studied the lake, found that the thermocline on Ashippun Lake varied from 17 to 18 feet, so that the downward plume going 20 feet, which they also found in the research, would disturb that kind of protective layer over the decaying matter and the formerly used chemicals. Also in 2011, in the Sewer Pack study, it identified the average depth of Ashippun Lake at 20 feet 2 inches. Also relevant for the downward plume going 20 feet.
Right. So that's that whole that whole understanding it has a lot left to do. The thermocline changes throughout the year, you know, in colder weather, you know, the thermocline comes all the way up. So we have the University of Minnesota data. It is a really good baseline. It's where you should start, but you can't end there because all of our lakes are different and the depths are different and, you know, topography is different, all the rest of it. So just as Mary said, but yes, it does penetrate if your thermocline's at 17 feet and that temperature of your water is going to impact, going to tell you that. And the downwash plume is 20 feet, then you have an impact on that thermocline. And Terra Vigilis has measured a phosphate plume in response. More of our summaries here. So the other thing we learned is that wake surfing and wakeboarding are substantially different. And Corbin, being the expert, is able to steer that wave like a champion, like a true champion. And so unlike the aftermarket wake equipment that can't steer it, Corbin can steer it in a way that minimizes the impact on whatever shore, you know, we want to mitigate the impact on, right? Now, of course, you aim the wave the other direction, and you know you're going to upset them. We don't know the downdraft plume. Wakeboarding, actually, we thought when we started this that wake surfing was going to be our biggest concern, and wakeboarding actually has a bigger wake impact. Now, wake surfing has the downdraft plume impact. Wakeboarding has the wave impact because it goes out both directions and there's an inability to steer it. So that was something we learned. And going 20 miles, going faster, you're putting greater energy into the water. So what we don't yet know, 600 feet is what University of Minnesota tells us mitigates the wave, but based on the topography of our lake, we don't know what distance is required to mitigate the wave, and we're going to take the opportunity to figure it out. And we're going to do, 200 foot for comparison with a ski boat. We did note increased turbidity. We knew that from last year. And we definitely see the decreased turbidity and water clarity with less boat traffic and these new offsets. Public compliance, not good so far. Not good so far, but we'll see where that goes. The goal of our Lake District is to mitigate the wake in line with what the University of Minnesota study suggests. We have that as our goal. We'll see where we get. Now, we've done surveys of the residents, and you can steal those questions if you go to our website, ashippinlake.org. This is just kind of an aggregate of some of the things we learned. So on the y-axis there, from 5 to 1, 5 being significant impact and 1 being minor impact, or I'm sorry, 1 is no impact and 5 is significant impact. You can see the averages there. The blue bar is the first survey we took in February. The orange bar is after we presented a lot of this and got a lot of impact from, and just got the district and the residents paying attention, just paying more attention, I guess, to this. And then the gray is after our trial. On the top is the percentage of people who said there was some impact, whether minor or major or moderate or whatever. So the residents do recognize an impact and they are attentive to what's going on, also being considerate of our neighbor, but balancing the two. And you can read the x-axis areas there. The thing that surprised me was the last one, causing hazardous conditions for kayakers and paddleboards. Now that people are paying better attention, they're noticing that, that is impacted. All right. So our subcommittee recommended to the district a motion that you can read to push this off to next summer annual meeting, because there is a lot more science that's going to be coming out from University of Minnesota, and opportunities for us to learn more as well. And we'd really like anyone that wants to participate to join us. That was adopted by the annual meeting. And our takeaways for you, based on this concern, we were able to double our tax assessment and budget funds for additional research. And that's a good thing. People are interested in figuring this out. What we're left with right now, and I appreciate anyone's help, and you can send things to Brad or Mary, and I can send out emails. Help us define what research type, what should we, should we get a hydrologist to look at the topography of our lake bottom compared to University of Minnesota? Are there some biological studies? Are there some sediment redeposition? Yeah, what kind of study can we do? And who can help us do it? So that might be the end of it. Yeah. So that's the end of it. I'm gonna throw out to the audience. If you want to talk to an expert on wake boating, and Corbin's inclined to talk, take advantage of an opportunity to ask them. And I think I'm going to get off. Should stop sharing. So Brad, I'll throw it back. And Mary, you got any? Did I forget anything?
No, you did a good job.
Brad, I'll throw it back to you.
Thanks, Paul. Great presentation. It's really good to know what you've done on Ashuapin Lake, and the approach you took is very great. It's very thorough. It seems very objective. Awesome that you could have Corbin on the call, and I would invite anyone to start the discussion. I have one question. Maybe it's for Corbin, maybe it's for you, Paul, and it has to do with wave steering. So I've never heard the term wave steering before, and so I'm curious to how that works, and if that is an effective, if that's something that Corbin does that is effective, maybe it's something that more people could learn how to do, and that could be a really good mitigation.
Well, I'll just say, I'll pass it to Corbin. I'll just say, when I showed you the video of a wave hitting with the messed up pier, right? With the wave hitting my shoreline, if Corbin steers the wave, and that's only for wakeboarding, surfing, not wakeboarding, I get no wave, nothing. So it's substantial. Corbin, you want to address that?
Yeah, is everything working? Can you guys see me?
Yes.
All right, cool. So when we're talking about throwing a certain way, it's just being aware of your surroundings. On the back of all of these wake boats, there is something called surf gate or something like it. So basically what's happening is you are pushing a button, and then there is a paddle opening up on the back of your boat on either the right side or the left side. If it opens up on the right side, it throws the whole boat to the other side. And then that's where the wave is. So it's being thrown just in that area. So that's what we're talking about when Paul was saying that we're steering a wave. Plus, I'm very experienced, and I kind of pay attention to like what my waves are doing. And, we're trying to work with the committee and the entire lake on basically exhausting every last option for wakeboarding, wake surfing. I realize that wake surfing isn't really the issue anymore. It's more of just this massive wake that my boat throws, and even kind of going down the middle of the lake. I mean, I wish I had somewhere to throw the waves, but when you run that much weight in a boat, the waves they're really chunky compared to like a surf wave. A surf wave will curl and it'll break, but with wakeboarding, these rollers are just like, there's just a lot of mass. So that's why they're causing an issue. But anyways, I kind of got off track there. steering a wave just has to do with the paddles on the back of the boat and just being aware of your surroundings.
Gotcha. Hey, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
I mean, I'm happy to open up the discussion to whoever else has questions for anyone. Yeah, I'd say just feel free to go ahead and ask.
I have a question. This is Mike Eggleston. I'm the executive director of Wisconsin Lakes, the statewide lake association. I'm just wondering how you guys got together, how you overcame, established trust, all the things that you probably needed to do. I mean, Corbin, it sounds like you were a willing participant, but I'm guessing that there probably might have been some people that weren't. I'm interested in how you dealt with that whole issue.
Well,
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, Corbin, you first.
oh no, it was, to be honest, we just had to get to know each other. And that's really all it took, because I'm a very willing person. You know, I care about the people out here. I understand what's going on. Paul has helped me a lot. And I actually didn't know that it was this crazy up until last year. Anyways,
Yeah, no, exactly. You know, it didn't start out friendly. It
no,
didn't start out friendly at all. It
No.
started
I
out
mean-
very adversarial. We had a, you know, what do you call it, a breakout section or offsite, you know, at the Dunton's house, right? So we kind of had a, you know, we had Harry. I think Harry helped too, Jeff Lamb. You know, Harry's kind of the, you know, he's the long-term old guy resident. Harry, I hope I'm not insulting you if you're on there, but he's kind of the, you know, he kind of helped us have a little bit of an offsite, and it wasn't anonymous, but it was kind of just put it all on the table, and that started the building of trust, and then stick with the science. Get away from the emotion. You know, you can't do this. You know, waves. A storm only makes this big a wave, so you got to get away from all that kind of. You know, wakeboarders are, you know, idiots, and they're knocking my pier down and all that. Okay, I get it. There's, you know, that's not what it's about. And so you gotta steer it back to the science.
Yeah, and I actually want to talk to, I guess, everybody here that lives on Ashepin Lake. Give me some feedback on your experiences throughout the summer after we put in place, you know, the trial. I mean, I followed it to a T, and I don't even know if it helped. I mean, I know it did, but I don't think it eliminated the issue.
Well, it definitely helped with certain things, the smell.
Well, that's
That-
good.
There's less turbidity when you're out there. The waves hitting the dock and going over our seawall are significantly less. They haven't stopped going over the seawall, but they're much less than they were. So from our perspective, that's a North Shore perspective, it has improved.
Well, at least we're moving in the right direction. I just hope we can keep going. And I actually just, I mean, I paid attention the last time that we went out wakeboarding, I paid attention to what my waves were doing because the lake water was high and Paul was out on his shore.
I wasn't spying on you. I was out there before you got there.
Yeah, I know, but I was watching you because I was like, oh God, the water's high and he's doing something.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was just curious.
I think it's, and this is one of our areas of effort is, and for those of you thinking about this on your lake, it's the size of the impact, you know, it's the amplitude and the frequency, right? So again, stick with the science there, right? So we can mitigate amplitude by staying in the deeper parts. We can mitigate amplitude by staying farther away from shore.
I can also turn it down.
Yeah, and
That's
Corbin,
just me.
yeah, Corbin, yeah, and if you have the right equipment and understand the sport, you can actually, modulate the amplitude yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there's a rule, but yeah.
But yeah, not completely, but you get it. Frequency is different though. So, and frequency of power boating in general was a lot less this year. So what part of it was our lake is definitely night better. There is no doubt about it. It's qualitative, but it's substantial. But how much of it is due to frequency and how much of it is due to change the amplitude? Some of both.
Yeah, and I'm gonna redo the sign and make it larger and put it right where people will notice it.
This is Jeff Lamb with the Ashland Lake District as well. And I just want to emphasize back to the original question, the dialogue that you just heard between Paul and Corbin, a nice illustration of the discussions that actually went on at our board meetings where the public was welcome to attend, and then at our annual meeting. And there was a lot of give and take. The fact that it was a controversial issue that caused people to actually attend and start listening to each other made a big difference. And I will echo Paul's comment that a seasoned lake veteran, Harry Agin, really did help facilitate opening discussion, getting people to think through things. And we were able to get some discussions that really got people listening to each other. So it is a small lake. So as a result, we're able to communicate much more effectively amongst each other. So.
That's great.
Can I ask a question? Like, the thing that you seem to have the most problems with when you were discussing this is the people not obeying the rules once they got on that lake. They saw the rules, on the weekends, they were introduced to them. And if they were lake owners, it sounds like they came to these meetings. And so who are the people who are not obeying the rules? And then how do you work with that, to help them understand the rules? Once even when you find all the answers and you have a system set up for using your lake, how can you stop those people and say, hey, stop, look at what you're doing. We want you, but you've got to obey those rules.
Well, we had the intern and she was pushing us in the right direction. We had the sign made, but I believe it was too small and it wasn't in a very obvious spot for people to see, because I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know that there were signs on that giant one off to the right there at the launch. I never looked at it before, so that could be a big thing. There wasn't a ton of people launching this year. There were a few morons. That's kind of where we're at right now.
It's interesting that Brad Freilich is the Powerboat Association lobbyist for National Powerboat Association lobbyist. And I spent a lot of time talking to, and of course, Corbin did on his own as well. But talking with him, he's challenged, his organization is challenged because they not only have to lobby for the industry, and these things are expensive. This is a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
But they also have to manage liability and safe operations and the what do you say? Not the rumors, but the opinions that these boats create. And so he's trying to, dance between how do we get compliance, how do we train people to operate safely? Because let's face it, that person that was in the video wasn't just impacting the environment, right? I mean, that just was not right. So to answer your question, I would say the first thing we do is apply science to find out what is the right answer. Manage what we can manage, right? Control what we can control, and then look to look to go from there.
I think you guys have done a really great job of coming together and opening up a line of discussion that frankly, I think a lot of lake people are on this call wondering how to do that on their own lake. You're working towards a compromise, and water is public. And so it's the most important thing you can do. I think you've done a great job of that. So congratulations on just working together. And Mike, I think you asked the question really well, how did you do it? And hopefully people on the call who are from Big Cedar or, any other lake on the call, North Lake, can see this relationship that you guys are building and realize maybe it had kind of a rocky start. Maybe you guys are yelling at each other. Somebody's in their boat, somebody's on shore, but you're coming together and you're coming up with these solutions. And that's really what's most important.
Brad,
A follow-up question I have really quick is just, Corbin, the wake boat industry probably better than a lot of people. How much do wakeboarders or wake surfers know that this is even an issue?
They don't.
Okay.
Unless they personally live on a lake that is having issues, and they're going, because I have friends in Minnesota and they were kind of going through the same thing. But other than that, people that I compete against, they don't know. And that's exactly where I was before last year.
Okay.
I mean, I kind of had an idea, but I had just a little bit of an idea.
Mhm.
Nothing compared to what it's actually doing.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, you know what? Andrew and Corbin came out to our house. We had one of our subcommittee meetings on the house, and his brother went and, right? Isn't that what we did, Corbin? Or was it just Andrew? Anyways, I think when they sit on the shoreline and see it, they're smart people, right? They just don't see it from our vantage point. So
Yeah, exactly. It's completely, it's a whole new ball game when you're into the sport and so into it where you don't pay attention to your surroundings. And I mean, I can talk from experience because when I was younger, that was exactly me. As I was training and trying to move on up and being young, I didn't think about anything else, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I wish I would have, I wish I would have known, but.
Well, it's cool that you're taking action now and you're mitigating your waves and you're learning how to do things differently to do that.
Yeah, I'll exhaust every possible thing if I have to.
where's your trophy, Corbin?
My other question is, did Corbin offer to take you wakeboarding, Paul?
Yeah. Wait. You
there's a trophy.
Dude, look at that. See? Heavy. Yeah. And well, I've wakeboarded on Pewaukee with my brother-in-law, so I kind of know it from that. I've tried it. I can't do it, but
Come on, I can teach you.
yeah, I know.
Hey, you said you're gonna take me flying. I'll take you wakeboarding
That's fair.
with a small wake.
Brad, can we go back to Mike Engelson's question again about how this group was able to come together and work together?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
I know they mentioned Harry Aginian, the longtime lake resident. Harry was also very instrumental in stopping the dam removal and getting it rebuilt. He is by profession a fluid power engineer. And after he went to the meeting where we first discussed the problems with wakeboarding, he looked into his aftermarket wake generator on his own boat and came to a meeting and said, my boat I can't control where the wave goes, and I will no longer be using it on Ashippun Lake because of the damage it would do. he had a lot of credibility after that to speak to both sides. And
Sure.
that really helped bring the group together.
It doesn't, yeah, and for the residents, it got us on the right page. I wish we could, push that off to our public boat launch, that knowledge. But anyways, that's for us to do. But yeah, thanks, Mary. That was a big turning point as well. I'll just throw it out again. We're a nice petri dish, a nice experimental opportunity for anyone that wants to participate as we learn more about this.
Paul, more questions are welcome if anybody has them, but I'm just wondering if anyone has questions, do you or Mary want to put your email address in the chat just in case they want to contact you?
Yeah, and I'll, if Corbin wants to invite the flood, he can do the same, but sure.
Sure.
And we'll post this discussion and this presentation on lakecountrycleanwaters.org as well.
And then if you do want to, Brad Freilich, you can Google him, U.S. Powerboat Association, if you want to, get their 2 cents. I talked to Brad Freilich for, I bet you, about at least a dozen hours about this. He comes from another point of view, but more information is better always.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Vision that because there are so many lakes, this is John Schott from Elkhart Lake, so many lakes raising this question. Is there some vision that with the continued gathering of good scientific data, that we could look at a statewide understanding of how we can apply this across all lakes rather than each lake individually fighting this question on their own, or trying to, swipe information from one website or another to build a case in their own little neighborhood. This just seems like it's the battle of midgets, and there should be a longer term goal of try to get some strategic answer to this question for the entire state.
So John, I had a slide that I was going to speak to that. Minnesota State has legislation pending. I looked yesterday and it's still pending. Rather than, the industry tried to hurry up and get in there and have them pass the 200-foot offset, but they stopped it. And instead, rather than pass a legislation establishing a distance from shore, because the science is still out, they decided to go with the education and guideline methodology. They can change those the guidelines as we learn more about the sport, and as the sport progresses as well. And then, but what about little lakes? Well, then the guidelines from Minnesota Lakes and Rivers is if you're unable to safely comply with the guidelines as published based on scientific data, you now have a foundation to go to the local town or county or whatever it is and have them restrict or restrict the activity accordingly. So for example, once the science says, hey, you can't do this you need 20 feet depth to do this. I'm making this up, okay? It needs to be 20 feet deep. Well, then you can now go to the town and say, we're 19 feet or whatever, or the offsets that's appropriate. So that's the kind of the methodology that Minnesota is taking. And it's got a lot of support because it's kind of, again, takes the emotion out of it a little bit. I don't know where Wisconsin is on doing that kind of thing, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna follow kind of the Minnesota model as this develops over the next year, and see where it takes us. And like Corbin says, we may not be able to mitigate. We don't know. But we're going to exhaust all avenues and before we throw our hands up.
I think that's the case. Exactly. I mean, we got to have more data on it. I'd invite Mike Ingleson to talk on it a little bit if you want to. I know you're really plugged
Oh,
in.
Mike's here. That's right.
Yeah, I can say just a couple of things. I think, you know, what we run into is there's this dual problem of so many, especially in a state with so many thousands of lakes. Every lake is different and it's hard to generalize. So it's sometimes putting a statewide overlay on it may not solve problems for every lake. So I, am cognizant of it may not be as simple as just setting a depth and a distance from. But one thing that, and in keeping with what you all are doing in Ashippun, one thing that I've been talking to some counties about, and I think there's at least one that is going to be trying this, is using a system of lakes classification, kind of like used to be done, especially in northern counties for shoreline zoning purposes. This would be different where it wouldn't even necessarily result in regulation, but the idea would be to look at, do an inventory of lakes within a county, rate them for particular suitability for recreational activities. Then that information can just be used by, it could be used by the local lake to get the town to pass an ordinance, but it could also be used to push certain activities onto certain lakes where it's more appropriate and maybe even more culturally accepted and whatnot. And I think that maybe is a way that we can kind of balance at least try to balance the interest of everyone. And then I'll say that this is an issue that's beginning to get some statewide recognition. I think there was somebody from Presque Isle on the call too, in Vilas County. They presented at the Natural Resources Board meeting last week. I've been talking to DNR about this as well. So there's things going on, at least somewhat behind the scenes.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Awesome. Well, this has been a really great discussion. Once again, I want to highlight just what can be done in a partnership at a partnership level, just with people on the lakes. I think looking at things like wake boats and wakeboarding, fishing, anything from a scientific objective perspective is the right thing to do. And I think Paul and Mary, you've done a good job of that, and it's to be replicated if people want to do that, right? So I think that's great. With that, I don't have much more. If people have more questions, you're welcome to stay on, but my last slide is just a thank you slide. So I, as always, want to thank everyone for being on the call today. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Mary, for presenting and doing all the research that you've done and being able to present this data. Thanks, Corbin, for being on as the wakeboard expert. It's awesome to see you and have your perspective on the call. So that's really great. And thanks to the board and thanks for everyone who attends. You guys push this organization forward and keep it going. So really appreciate everyone on the call today.
Thank you.
Our next meeting is January 19th. Let me make sure that's right. 18th, January 18th will be our next session. So we'll be talking about taking action on projects.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, Brad.
everybody.
Thanks, very interesting.
Great, thanks, Ronald. And thanks, Mike, for your expertise as well.
Yeah, thanks for letting me crash.
Yeah, of course.
Crash the party.
Oh, and I'll stop recording too.
Yep. And thanks